So I'm going to tell you about this wonderful product, which actually originates from Daniel and colleagues in DMLL, another snappily entitled bit of the university. And it's also a cautionary tale for me, because the theme of the conference, as I understand it, is around participation. I'm about to tell you how not to do it. Before I flipped it, and I believe got it right. So I'm going to talk to you about a rapid business prototyping project. Wow, how to get the pulses racing after dinner. Rapid business prototyping, Neil. But I'm going to get you excited about it. What I'm going to argue is in terms of the workshop brief, if you like, as I understood it, around creativity and entrepreneurship. This is super. Did I say super? We can do another super. Democratic, accessible tool that's ideally suited for the creative economy, creative entrepreneurs, for innovation. So I'll talk to you about how we've used that in settings in Mexico, in Brazil, in Ukraine. My Portuguese is bad, my Ukrainian is hopeless. But what we do in terms of sprint is we get people drawing, we unleash their creative potential. So the start of this cautionary tale is the success. Just as I came in full-time to the university in September or so of 2017, I managed to win a project. I punched the air, British Council. All those British Council projects that you typically know about in terms of knowledge transfer. And also that slight nod, and of course the British Council don't say it like this, but that slight nod, we're British, you're going to learn from us. So the British, not to be repeated to them, so the British Council bid is really couched in that. As many of you know, you're walking that tightrope between talking about the cutting edge, the huge expertise that you're going to deliver, but also saying, yes, of course we're going to listen to local communities. So in terms of the bid, which they absolutely loved, they kept talking about it, and they kept talking about it as we kept changing it. We basically said, we'll go out, we'll do a scoping visit of 2 weeks to Brazil, we'll look at the creative economy across the 4 states that you want us to look at. We'll map where there are areas for improvement, and then we will deploy. We'll deploy almost this. Anyone remember this lot? There's mutters of the Sweeney and the flying squad, of course there were. So we were almost going to deploy. Neil, at one point, this is you. I'm directing you into action in Brazil to fill this gap. So of course we go out there and well, it just doesn't add up. And it doesn't add up, not only because of the picture of a chicken wearing a sweater behind me, it doesn't add up, one, in terms of what they need, but it also doesn't add up because it just goes counter to the way in which I've always done things. When I worked at De Montfort a decade ago, we worked around a methodology which we coined social action research, and it was all about working with frequently ignored communities, getting their voices heard, training community members to be researchers. And it was all very rootsy in co-creation and building on capacity and assets within communities. And here I am bidding from Coventry University, talking about deploying academics. And that work, for me, once I was running my own company, started, I worked in community settings, so bizarrely, and this is a topic for another day, felt like 6 months working out the social value that was provided by a community initiative. The local residents on this big housing estate built a chicken coop. What do you do when you build a chicken coop? Get chickens. Well, maybe you rescue chickens that are a bit threadbare and then you start knitting sweaters for them. So I've got this incongruity in my mind between what we bid for, this top-down approach, and what we really wanted to deliver in terms of participatory. So we went out, we did the scoping, we thought actually, David, there's nothing that we can add. But what can this dodgy geezer add to this master maker's pot making? We came back, we reflected, and we started to try and persuade the British Council that even though we'd said we would go out and support the development of the Brazilian creative economy, and even though we'd offered creative specialists within the bid, that what we would do would be business planning. Now you can imagine how their pulses quickened at that point. I could imagine my P45 coming straight away. No sooner am I in the door of the university than I'm out again. But we did successfully persuade them that the methodology that they should use should be this. So this is Sprint, and this started out as a Google Ventures initiative. What they found, if you don't know this story, was that they would spend a couple of weeks at the company. The company would have all these great ideas. They'd depart back to Google Ventures HQ, and nothing had happened. No one had actually turned those ideas into something tangible. So Sprint gets sold by Google Ventures as a 5-day methodology, which is the greatest hits of business planning and innovation. It's something which is sold as disruptive. It's disruptive because you go into the room and everyone's sat there with the laptops and the phones, put them away, can't use them. Well, all right, I might let you use them at some point, but actually it's by permission, because I don't want your attention getting stretched away. So I tell you, you've got to draw? What? Yeah, you can't write anything. So you kind of play them a little bit, because they do get to write something. But you're always trying to create this tension. What? I can't write. I can't draw. You've got to draw. I can't draw though. You don't understand. I can't draw. You've got to draw. And out of that creative, disruptive tension, you get some big picture testing of new ideas, and you do it as a rapid tempo. So I started delivering the sprint with one of Daniel's fine colleagues, Alan Richards, and I'm never quite sure whether we did this deliberately or it was just natural, but we played bad cop and good cop. So I was going, come on, you can draw, you'll be great at it. Alan would be like, come on, hammering on the table, trying to, and again it created that lovely tension. So all the way through sprint you've got bits that are individual, bits that are group, so the quiet ones get to speak through the individual bits, even if they get drowned out in the group. You do get to write a bit, but I'm not going to tell you that. So I need to do a nod to Daniel and Alan, and colleagues in Disruptive Media Learning Laboratory, DMLL, because they took that sprint book and they turned it into a Coventry methodology, and they turned it into a Coventry methodology which is around largely course development, although it gets used in different ways in the university. We picked this up, we persuaded the British Council at this point, and we took it out to Brazil. And the idea is that you move away from that procrastination and paralysis by analysis. I've got you working at that speed. You're generating ideas like there's no tomorrow. And despite our initial misgivings, the British Council publish it. So there's now 4 volumes of this published, just to make the ref process happy, in Portuguese. We published the guide, but we published it in a way that was very much for the client. And what we've done is kept playing with the methodology and kept adapting it. So last September, ditching aside all my equality and diversity training, I was the particularly badly chosen facilitator for a sprint with a black women's empowerment group in Brazil. You know, the gender power relations, the race and ethnicity power relations, but it worked, and we cried at the end. We had a hug and we cried at the end. And I think the other interesting thing by this stage, that 5-day methodology that Google were talking about, and the 3-day methodology which the British Council made us right to, because they felt, well, you need to immerse someone in a certain number of days for it to be meaningful. Well, maybe, maybe not. If it's disruptive enough, do you? So for this group, this is the Black Women's Empowerment Group in Sao Paulo, we've got it down to 3 hours. So I'm talking about something in my mind which is very accessible. Again, my Portuguese isn't great. All the power dynamics, white bloke, global north, global south, black women. Somehow the process enabled us to come to a successful conclusion. To which I hear you crying, Richard, tell me what is that process? Dead simple. I mean, this is why I feel a bit of a fraud presenting on it. It's like so simple and so intuitive. People pay us to do this stuff. So you start out with the key challenge, the opportunity. You're always looking to flip the language, a bit neuro-linguistic programming like, from problem to opportunity. And you get them to draw it. You get them to draw the big opportunity that they can see. And you get them to try and keep their vision broad, because they're going to narrow down and narrow down and narrow down until they have this thing that they're going to prototype. And they draw it and they pin it to the wall. And they present on it, so they're all literally and metaphorically on the same page, and then you get them to draw their target market. So they draw their target market and they go to pin it next to their challenge and opportunity. No, hold on. I want you to pin it here. Why not next to it, Rich? Because I want you to fill in the gap, because the gap is how might we fulfill that big idea opportunity for that target market. And you get them to storyboard it and then build it, and they only get to build it with what they can find in the room. And the idea is, again, it's disruptive, and if you give people the opportunity to go down to the ICE office and get all the cool stuff that no doubt is down there, again, you slow up the process. You're letting the tools dictate what you're going to produce. So drawing for me is about these 5 things. I'm always dangerous about promising people fun. This is going to be fun. Oh yeah, really? No, this is going to be fun. Imagine it. Fun, fun, fun. Really? But drawing does provide accessibility with the language. My language is better than yours. I can think of this technical phrase which is even better than yours, LP. Maybe not. No, I'm not sure. But if you're drawing, unless you are the master draftsperson within the group, you're all pretty rubbish. So you're on a level playing field, and I think that drawings are more easily remembered than words, because they're likely to be quirky rather than that exact word that you use. So these are very quickly the 5 stages and then the 1-minute clip. Stage 1, challenges and opportunities. This is one from Brazil. The best things that people draw evoke emotion. This is the gastronomy that they want to sell in Recife, in Pernambuco, that they want to attract your taste buds, your eyes, the smell of the food, the roots, which you can't very well see, in the earth. Your target market, drawn sketchily here as the tourist, but equally it might be an internal market. You might be selling to government or to an investor. The how might we, so you've got these 2 big flip charts and you're filling in how might we bring that opportunity to the target market, and you're really trying to get the pace going, and you're getting this portfolio of ideas stuck up which people can come back to. The little bit where you can start writing. Whoops. And then storyboarding it. When you get them to storyboard it, again, it's a little bit about by iteration and making sure that they're on the same page, but you are then going to get them to literally build this idea that they have for the creative economy, their next new product. Or an idea. And then because they're building it with whatever they have, believe it or not, Daniel, this is a digital game. Well, Alan wanted to bring it back. I think he did bring it back to develop it as a digital game. This is a rural economy tourism experience. This is an app which they demonstrated because they thought all they could find in the room was bits of cardboard. One woman stood this side, one woman stood this side, and just kept pulling bits through. This is what you can see on the app. So, what I've tried to argue in the last 20 minutes, 18 I think I've still got 1 minute, 18, is Sprint fits this notion of participatory, everyone can take on board, get involved, that it fits the innovation entrepreneurial spirit, that it's in tune with creative approaches and it's very experiential. Now this one is from a group in Maceió, which is Alagoas, which is really poor northeast of Brazil. And what they wanted to demonstrate was the way in which the creative economy should engage more with mentors, and that what they were trying to do was map out how a mentoring process would work. So, creative entrepreneur, actually I'm not quite sure I know where to go, hang on a sec, we can help, we can match you up. So other people, as you've seen, built their stuff with bits of cardboard. This group, and they did this bit of it, they'd storyboarded it, but they did this bit in 30 minutes, downloaded software, made a film, put music to it, and put titles to it. So, this worked at lunch break, so I have complete confidence. Anyone remember the golden shot?